Okay, what we're gonna do here is learn how to shade a sphere. So first thing we're gonna need to go over is the parts of shading as we're gonna do this sphere. Now a sphere is just a ball, and we're gonna shade this as if there's only one light source hitting the ball. In most rooms there's multiple light fixtures, which all are light sources. This is as if the room is dark and there's just one light source hitting this ball. Okay, so the parts we have is of course the light source, where the light is coming from. The highlight, that's going to be your brightest white area on the ball where the light is directly hitting it. The midtone, this is your mid-gray, kind of in between on the ball. And then your shadow, this is the darkest part of the ball where the light is not hitting very much. Now your reflected light, this is a little sliver of light on the underside of the ball. And where that comes from is the light source bouncing off elements around the ball and kind of coming back around and reflecting on this part of the ball, since the ball is receding from us in space and that part is actually further away. Then finally you have the cast shadow. So this is where the ball is blocking the light from the light source on the surface. Okay, so to get started you're going to need a drawing pencil. This is a graphite pencil, which is just another word for lead, and it's a 6B, which means it has a very soft lead. Gonna need an eraser. These are what we got. Say Blick on them. And then this is called a tortillon. It's just basically a rolled up piece of paper. We're gonna use it to help blend. Okay? You can also call this a blending stump. Blending stump or tortillon. All right, so first I'm gonna take my pencil. And I'm gonna want to designate the area for my highlight. Now you see the highlight is up here, and it's kind of a circular area. It's not all the way to the edge, circular area on the ball. So I'm going to carefully and lightly kind of draw in an oval shape here. Now, I want to be careful to do this so lightly, and I want to make it a little bigger than what the highlight, the widest part, is actually going to be. Okay, so I'm going to start there, and then what I want, you'll see I'm holding my pencil not like you'd hold to write, but I'm holding it in a side grip so that I can draw lighter and use more the edge of my pencil rather than the top. Okay, so I'm going to start at the edge of this highlight. My goal here is to draw so lightly, and it's hard to do at first. You might find that you get too dark right away. So you're gonna try really hard to get a very light value around this circle, or this oval. So you're not putting any pressure. Your goal is just to get the lead basically to brush the page without you putting any extra pressure down onto it. Okay, and I'm going to work kind of in a circle around the circle. You want to work shading following the shape of the ball. Okay, so now as I continue out from this highlight, I'm going to keep going with this light value, and I want to try and get this as evenly blended as possible. I don't want to leave white spots, I don't want to get dark spots. I want this to be nice and even shading. Okay. So now as I get towards the middle of the ball, I don't have to try and be as light, but I'm still going to start out lightly. So I'm just not being as careful. It's starting to get a little darker, you can see. And I'm still working that circular motion following the shape of the ball. Just getting a light layer down first. You're going to work in layers to get this whole thing covered, to work to a darker value over here. Work nice and slow. Now as I'm getting closer down here, see I'm still working circularly, I want to make sure I leave my reflected light. So kind of gonna designate that area by drawing a dark line next to it. Okay, so I know that right in there, in that little sliver, I'm not going to add any darkness. And I know this will be the darkest part of the ball. So if I start drawing darker right here now, that's okay. And that darkness will kind of come up the sides a little bit. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to slowly bring that dark value over, but I want to get a nice even blend from dark to light, a nice even transition, okay? So I have this dark part, and I'm going to start working the darkest part into my mid-tone, trying to get a gradual blend here. And I can push harder on my dark part, make sure that's really nice and dark right at the edge of my reflected light there. And I'll go up the side here a little bit, but start to get lighter up here. Okay, so now I'm working on an even transition from dark to light. Now my pressure isn't as heavy. I'm still following that circular motion of the ball. I really want to avoid there being a harsh line anywhere from two different colors. You never want to make a harsh line. You want to try to blend it nice and smoothly. All right, so we're getting lighter up here as we go. Okay, blending right into this lighter part. Okay, now I can see from right here to right here, there's kind of a big jump. So I would go back and with my pencil just kind of gradually make that shift happen. So gradually add a little bit more to where it's lighter. So I'm kind of pulling that dark into the light. I'm trying to blend and mix it all together. Okay, not doing too bad here. Now I'm going to work on getting this transition because you can still tell where my circle is, and I want this to very gradually blend into white, which is really tricky to do. Because what I want to do, I'm actually going to take my eraser and erase the edges because I don't want that line that I drew first to show up at all. So if I erase that line, that's going to help me. Okay. Now I'm going to take my pencil and just so lightly, you might not even see it at first, which is kind of what I want. I want to get a little bit of value blended into that white. Just so very little. If my pencil isn't even touching the paper half the time, that's okay, because I want this to be so gradual. And there will be some of it that I won't ever touch in the middle. I want to leave some of it completely white. Okay, and I kind of have a darker spot right here. For some reason, I'm going to erase that a little bit. Okay, doing all right. Kind of have a smudge there. I'm going to erase that a little harder and just kind of fix that area. Okay. Now, what this blending stump is for is to get that smooth shading like we talked about. Now, hopefully you're going to get a clean one. So I would start in the middle because as soon as you pick up some lead with this, it'll move it around. If I started right here, that darkness would carry into here. So I'm going to start here, kind of at the edges of my highlight. That might help me make a little bit more smooth of a transition. Okay, and then I'm going to slowly work my way out. So this will just help blend a little bit. You don't want to rely on this to blend because it won't do a good enough job. You need to do the blending mostly with your pencil. This just kind of smooths it out. So think of the tortilla more as a last step rather than what you're going to use to try and make it all smooth, because it won't smooth out everything. You want to avoid streaks, avoid lines as much as you can. And don't overuse this too, because it'll end up making the whole thing too dark. Okay, so I can come back in with my pencil if I want, and make it even a little darker here at the edge. But we're doing pretty good there. Last thing I need is my cast shadow. So I'm pay attention to where it starts, what the shape of it is. It's very much an oval. Where it ends here. Okay, make this really dark because it's blocking all the light from the light source. Neatness does matter when you're working on this, so be as neat as you can as you go. You want to work slowly. Don't rely on the eraser and the tortillon too much because it'll get messy on you. Alright, I could blend that too if I wanted, but we'll just leave it that way. And then finally add everything in. So I'll draw in this and I'll label it. I want to label my highlight, midtone, shadow, reflected light, and cast shadow. All right, and that is how you shade a sphere.